It's week 11, and the stakes have never been higher. We've got 4 games left to go, and anything is still up for grabs. Nothing is set in stone, but there are many scenarios that can happen which will ultimately put an end to some narratives in some form or fashion, or grant a potential clinch into the playoff. It's going to be epic to talk about. Week 11 is shaping up to be incredibly pivotal for us moving forward. Before I go on with the show, I just want to say that video that you shared, Spencer, really put me back in my feelings. Man, that was a rough loss for me to put me out of the playoffs, and those feelings could be felt very soon by some members in this fantasy league. Furthermore, we've got some key matchup breakdowns to get through, and at the end of the episode, I will discuss these playoff scenarios. So stay tuned. Here we go. Let's get it going. All right, first game of the week I'm going to talk about is myself versus Sam. For Sam, with Nick Chubb back in full swing and DeAndre Swift emerging as a top 15 fantasy running back, there is no time like the present for Sam to get a string of wins for a better late than never playoff push. It's going to come down to literally perfection for Sam if she's going to make it in. She also has Calvin Ridley, and that has a lot of major upside this week as he's going to be probably a key factor in what could be a shootout between the Atlanta Falcons and the New Orleans Saints. For me, it was really a tough call to give Mahomes and Kelsey the start this week. They both put up 0 points for me last week, so I'm expecting much better results, or I might have to put them on the waiver wire. Ultimately, I do expect this matchup to be decided late on Sunday or potentially even Monday night, and we will talk about the implications from this game later on. Next one we have Eric and Mike. Eric's 4-6, Mike is 7-3. Both teams enter this pivotal cage match coming off losses decided on Monday Night Football, so hopefully those wounds have healed a little bit. Eric was able to squeeze 9 points out of Christian Kirk last night to take an early 9-0 lead, but he is currently a 7-point underdog. Eric is going with Justin Herbert over Aaron Rodgers this week. He's hoping for a dominant performance from Herbert, who's going up against the hapless New York Jets. So there is a major upside in starting Herbert there for Eric. Mike will be without key quarterback Josh Allen this week, and he was originally planning to start Jameis Winston for the Saints, but recently a development was announced that it's going to be Taysom Hill getting the start and not Jameis Winston. So Mike instead went out and got shaky Carson Wentz. Got dropped by Trevor last week, so we'll see if that can pay off for you or not, Mike. I had a really awesome quip I was going to use for Jameis Winston, so I'm kind of bummed that he's not going to get your start this week, Mike. But whatever, that's the way it is. Both Eric and Mike are starting opposing defenses in the Titans and Ravens, respectively. Could this be a difference maker in the result of their matchup? It could definitely be if one defense proves to be completely dominant over another. Okay, next one we've got Alex and Dwayne. Alex 5-5, Dwayne 3-7. Really not a whole lot to discuss here, as this matchup ought to be jokes by numbers for Alex, which does put the pressure on Jamie and Spencer Opie, both at 5-5, and Ben and Matt at 6-4. A win here makes Alex 6-5, and those teams surrounding him will need to get wins if they're going to, they don't want to risk losing their spots as high up in the standings or falling further behind. Alex secured 13 points from DK Metcalf last night, and he is currently a 30-point favorite over Dwayne. Like I said, not much left to discuss here. One thing in particular to note is that Dwayne did substitute Lamar Jackson into the starting lineup this week, but he still has the 49ers, who are on a bye, in his lineup as well. So not sure what's going on there, Dwayne. But now is not the time to be keeping points off the board, and that's all I've got to really say about that. Fourth matchup, we've got Matt coming in 6-4, Spencer Pianga 4-6. After last night's game, Matt was able to get 20-plus points from both Kyler Murray and Tyler Lockett as he soars to an early 45 lead over the younger Pianga. For Matt, the key to victory will be stable and consistent numbers from the rest of his lineup now that his two superstars have already finished. Spencer has favorable matchups with the Bridgewater-Davis duo on the Panthers, who are playing against the Lions. Spencer has a soft spot for the Panthers. Yes, I stalked your Insta profile, and we'll be hoping for a much better performance from the duo after last week's less than productive performance. Also, he's got that rookie T. Higgins who went off for the Bengals in Week 10, and hey, if Higgins is able to do that again, this one could be closer than it looks right now. So keep on your toes, Matt and Spencer. Good luck to you. This one's certainly going to be an interesting one. Okay, here we go. Next one. Jamie 5-5, Trevor 4-6. After last week's abysmal performance, Russell Wilson was able to bounce back and deliver 22 fantasy points for Trevor. He is currently still a 6-point underdog to rival Jamie after claiming last week, "I think it's in the bag." Let's see if he can cash that check this week. Still without Raheem Mostert, Trevor went out and acquired Kalen Ballage of the Los Angeles Chargers. Will he be a difference maker for that lineup this week? Honestly, you haven't seen much production out of Chargers running backs since Eckler got injured. He was really kind of the dominant guy there. So is Ballage going to be able to do something that Joshua Kelly wasn't, or what was the other running back's name? I can't quite remember off the top of my head because they're not really relevant. For Jamie, Big Ben is getting the nod over Matty Ice this week. Also, she's without Stephon Diggs, so she will be hoping for solid numbers from Keenan Allen. Jamie currently holds the longest active win streak with 4 wins and can tie the longest streak of the season at 5 that was previously held by Mike before I gave him his first blemish back in Week 6. All right, here we go. Game of the week. Ben 6-4, Spencer Opie 5-5. Childhood best friends, heterosexual life partners. Will that be at odds this week? Are they going to be able to get through together regardless of the outcome? We're going to have to stay tuned on that social thing. Both teams are in their second game of the week in 3 weeks, which I just think is pretty interesting to note. Pretty good teams. Important matchup as far as standings and playoff positioning goes, so we'll keep an eye on this one for sure. Ben jumped to a 10-point lead last night with DeAndre Hopkins. Kind of a modest performance. So now only 4 points separate the projected totals between the two. This match is going to come down to 2 factors, and that's Ben's quarterback, Deshaun Watson, and Spencer's quarterback, Matthew Stafford. But the heavy significance is going to lean on the points scored from Dalvin Cook and Alvin Kamara. These are basically your top 2 running backs in the league. I'm really excited that they get to go off against each other head-to-head. Who's going to come out on top? One thing to note is that Kamara did not practice on Thursday due to a foot-related injury. No news has been released as of right now where his status is for Friday practice and the Sunday game. So really, the outcome of this matchup really depends heavily on Kamara's ability to be healthy enough to play. He's just such a key player for Spencer. It'd be a long shot at that point without him, is where I'm kind of leaning on that. Okay, so we've broken down the matchups. The stage is set. Now let's talk about what can happen. I put together about 8 scenarios of things that definitely could happen and narratives that will be written in paper if these outcomes should happen accordingly. Like I said, I think there's 8 teams are affected here, so I'm going to run through that list. We're going to start with Division 2. For Sam and Dwayne, a Mike victory over Eric or a loss in your respective matchups will eliminate you from winning the division. You won't be eliminated from the playoffs, and in fact, nobody can be eliminated from the playoffs, so everybody take a deep breath right now. This isn't completely make or break it for the postseason, but for the division championship, you guys are on the hinges, Sam and Dwayne. The Pianga Bros, a Mike victory and a loss, so Sam and Dwayne was or. A Mike victory and a loss in your respective matchups will eliminate you from winning the division. Okay, let's talk about Division 1. Similar things going on here. For Eric, a victory for me over Sam or a loss to Mike will eliminate him from winning Division 1. For Alex and Jamie, a win from me and a loss in your respective matchups will eliminate you from winning the division. And lastly, the most exciting statistic of all, I can clinch a playoff spot with a win and a loss from either Alex, Jamie, or Spencer Opie, all at 5-5. So that's the stage that's been set. Keep those things in mind as you watch. Figure out what's going to benefit you going forward, and it's certainly getting crazy now. Those are your first sort of set in stone narratives that are going to move forward going out into the final three, and they will only increase in significance as we go on. And this is the moment I've truly been waiting for since I started this show, was getting to break down these scenarios and share them with you guys, because I'm just so amped right now. I'm on my second cup of coffee. And this was literally all done in one take. This was my first take, and I think I nailed it. Other than that, stay tuned. Week 11. This is the last week of cross-divisional play, and then we are back to divisional foes for the final 3 weeks. So it's crunch time, people. It is crunch time, and let's see what happens. I will see you guys for a recap episode sometime next week. Take care, and good luck.